Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for My Hero Academia, chapter 226. Right off that, one of the weird things about this chapter is that I need to look again, but but from what I see, apparently My Hero Academia, My Hero Academia manga didn't give us the exact same noise that the One Piece manga gave us. So I don't know if it's also going on, on break because of Golden Week, or if it's or yeah, what exactly is going on with that? But yeah, I don't, it'll. I guess we'll just have to wait and see until next week for that. Um, but so jumping right in, My Hero Academia chapter 226. We basically, the chapter starts by getting a little snippet of Toga's past, and the one interesting thing I found out immediately, just in that small chunk of her backstory, is how when you basically see people when you see people that are pretty much talking about her, Horikoshi chose to creatively censor her name from basically every conversation, which basically showed early on that society had already abandoned her from her before. Honestly, I think even trying to help, and an extra fuck you to Toga's parents, because despite what they said over that intercom in this chapter, I bet they didn't even try to help. Like you obviously from basically from the small snippets we see, obviously Toga's parents are Toga comes from a rich family, obviously, and Toga's parents, from just the way it was set up, obviously kind of, for me, kind of spells out that, yeah, they decided to abandon their daughter because, hey, it isn't worth the money. It isn't worth the money to pay for it. Like, really? Like, that in its, yeah, that, and honestly, the most, honestly, that's only part of one of the most infuriating parts of this whole thing, because the most infuriating part for me is that all of this exposes like the biggest irony in terms of this society, in terms of this hero society, which is by having this inclusive mentality, it actually gives birth. It actually gives birth to furnish just as many villains as heroes, because for as fair as this society tries to act on the surface, on what at the moment that you start tearing off that mask of including everyone, you'll see just how biased it is, just how biased everyone is, and how biased everyone is, and how they judge everyone just pretty much based on a person's quirk. Like it really is a fucked up society. It really is kind of a fucked up society when you pretty much when you look below the surface. And the funny thing is, the even funnier thing about this too is that it really kind of presents the way it's presented. It's almost presented in a way where this society is almost intentionally creating these villains in order to give the heroes pretty much people to fight. Like it isn't even trying in order to help these people. It's so in order to fuel this whole, like, I guess, weird fucked up balance that needs to be maintained of heroes and villains. Like it really is almost, it's almost like this society is manufacturing these villains almost in a weird way, and Toga was, unfortunately, and people like Toga and pretty much shake Araki were unfortunate casualties of this system. Like they're creating these villains almost intentionally is the vibe I got from this chapter. Like it was kind of I guess that's something that was kind of already shown, but with here it's definitely more than blatant on that to me. But and the saddest part is, and it gets even sadder than that, because in terms of Toga herself, like with the saddest part of this chapter, and with Toga herself, however, is that any attempt that Toga, even after being being rejected by her society, but by her parents, and after having. And after I guess having failed the British Quirk, the Quirk counseling and whatnot, even after all that, we basically see that pretty much Toga is even pretty much tried even harder in order to fit in as much as she could. She was basically desperate at that point in order to fit in and find a place to belong. So at that point she was willing to do anything, even if it meant faking, something as simple as a smile. And in the end, absolutely nothing worked, and it only led her deeper and deeper down into such a desperate spiral that she pretty much learned for herself that pretty much being that the term normal is very subjective, and it really only she can, and it doesn't matter what people say about her. Only she herself can pretty much define what basically what the term of normal is to her. So yeah, it's which again is good. In terms of going back to what I said last chapter, it's kind of an interesting flip on the whole thing of how only you as the individual can pretty much define what it is that pretty much normal means to you, what in terms of whatever it is, in terms of whatever it is, like with stuff like anime and manga, for instance. It's basically what makes us as a community normal, but there definitely still are people out there who kind of say that we're basically weirdos for pretty much liking this stuff, even as adults. But hey, it's stories like this that make it so compelling. And yeah, let's talk about the other thing in this chapter, which is that Toga's quirk has evolved to where basically every time she transforms. Where every time she transforms into people now, she apparently Toga can also use the person's quirk that she transforms into, and honestly, in terms of how this quirk evolution of her being able to transform into a person and use their quirk can affect the plot going forward. Honestly, this new development really scares me, because what could happen now is that it's gonna be harder, because before like with the heroes and the UA students, that it was a little easier to kind of identify Toga as the fake from pretty much the fake from the fake because of that one flaw of her not being able to use like the person's quirk, or the person that she or the quirk of the person that she transforms into. But now with this quirk evolution, unless something happens which causes Toga to pretty much drop the act, Toga can pretty much can basically transform into a perfect copy of pretty much of anyone she wants, as long as she obviously ingests their blood, which with this new development, it really is gonna make it a lot easier in order for her to slip into the hero ranks and even UA at this point. So with this new development of Toga's quirk, it's one of those things where it's a great development for pretty much her character, but the scary implications as far as what it means for our heroes is definitely a lot more like in the focus as well. Like it really is kind of frightening to know that pretty much Toga can pretty much now can basically transform into anyone she wants and use their quirk, which is going to make it harder in order to identify the fake now. I think like it's still early, so it's hard to tell. But I think the only real, like, the downside, I think it's still that still exists here, is that from what I see, the only weakness that her quirk still, that Toga's like transformations still have, even with this new development, is that she can only use is that Toga can pretty much only use the powers of can only use the person's like at what in terms of whatever powers the person had at the time. Those are pretty much the only powers that she can use, I think, is what it's boiling down to, I think. And in terms of Chitose herself, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say that. Okay, with this chapter, we basically see that Chitose is, I guess, dead. We can assume, and I'm not gonna say that Chitose herself was a bad antagonist. But if she is dead after this chapter, it's kind of an underwhelming way for her to go out, to be honest. And I don't know what exactly I was expecting, but somehow I was expecting a little more. Um, However, one thing I will say is that with Toga's little display of using Ochiko's powers, Ochiko's quirk, it really shows just pretty much how powerful it really is, and hopefully that this will be enough to shut down the haters, or at least or shut them up enough in order to recognize that there is that the potential that the character actually has now. So yeah, guys, that's my review. Enjoy the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Crunchyroll. Dead Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.